for me. I know from my own community multiple stories of people who have been in abusive relationships or marriages, and I felt that it was a pressing need in our community to talk about it, to acknowledge that it exists, and to start doing something to stop it. And it was really, the thing that really hit me was I was having a conversation with somebody about someone in our community who had been in an abusive marriage, and she said, well, you know, if she calls the cops, the marriage is over. And I said, that is the completely wrong attitude that we have. It should be, the man should be worrying, if I abuse my wife, my marriage is over. So that's what this sort of event is trying to get the ball rolling on, is that our culture should change about what we think and how we think about abuse and how to treat it and how to help people who are victims of it. Some statistics. There was a study done in the greater Boston area with immigrant women that said that 40% of them indicated that they were victims of intimate partner violence, and 50% of them, of those people who were victims, did not know that there were services available to help them. So what we've also created is a resource sheet. So in front of you, you'll probably see the IIC New York, New Jersey chapter resource list of organizations in the area, New Jersey and New York, and different avenues available to people seeking help who are victims of domestic abuse. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Naki Heather to talk about and introduce Mount Sinai MSA. Thank you.
Thank you, Sally. Assalamu alaikum. Can you guys hear me? My name is Naki Heather. I'm a student here at Mount Sinai. And I just want to give you a little background about Sinai before we start off the event, just so you have an idea of where you are and why an event like this would be important to Sinai MSA and the community here. So Mount Sinai itself was founded in the early 19th century, around 1830s, as a hospital, and it started to create a family of hospitals around the area, and it spread throughout the United States, eventually starting a medical school in the late 1960s. So this medical school is relatively recent, and the graduate school has also been around for quite a while, and the school itself is highly invested within the community in Harlem, and they do a lot of outreach work in the neighboring community and community development type programs, along with education workshops. So that is a little background about Sinai, and I was going to speak a little bit about the event. So the topic of our event is perspectives on domestic violence, perspectives on domestic abuse in the Muslim community. And our initial idea was we would have a speaker talk about the civic responsibilities people have, along with the religious responsibilities people have, and tie all that together. So we didn't have a civic speaker, so I'm going to go into just a little bit of philosophical content. You guys will bear with me, I'm sure. Hopefully won't bore you too much. So as we were programming this event, I got the news that my sister had a baby boy. So we had just gotten done with the conference call, and I was flying over to Chicago, and I was reading this magazine over here called Philosophy Now. It's a magazine that I read very often, and it's edited by one of my professors. So in the magazine, it's an article about John Stuart Mill, and John Stuart Mill is the founder of modern liberalism, in a sense. So a lot of the secular democracies that are present in Europe and are present in America are greatly influenced by his ideology. And there were just three paragraphs there that ended on, again, domestic violence. So I was like, wouldn't that be cool if I shared that with you guys today? So I'm going to read it verbatim, you can follow along. So he talks about individuality. For domestic abuse conflicts with ideals of individuality. For Mill, it is a self-created individuality which allows us to pursue all things that make us happy. Firstly, because it is through reflecting on our circumstances and our own ideas and feelings, making choices and building our own character, that we know that what makes us happy, and hence what we want to pursue. Secondly, because it is through a similar process of self-creating reflection that we know what we think is right. And for Mill, if we did not think we could really be happy. Sorry about that. Secondly, because it is through a similar process of self-creating reflection that we know what we think is right. And Mill did not think we could ever really be happy if we were not doing what we fundamentally thought was right, as opposed to what we want, or which can be two very different things. Lastly, because in creating and perfecting our characters to the best of our ability, we gain the sympathy, admiration, and affection of others, and we feel the sympathy, admiration, and affection of others, all of which are very important to happiness. This is getting to a point, so bear with me, guys. So Mill says individuality and happiness go hand in hand. You can conflict with these two principles. You are basically going against the fundamental principles of liberty within his theories of utilitarianism. Therefore, happiness, the most important ethical goal for Mill, lies in the free development of individuality. That is, in our free ethical self-createdness. It is this Mill is championing on liberty. It is also what Mill is trying to protect. Because he believed that we can only develop our individuality if there was some space in which we are free from coercion. Okay, so we can't coerce people, and we'll talk about why. Mill is only concerned about unjustified coercion. So there are cases when coercion is necessary. So for example, if you have a friend and he's a cocaine addict, you have to, for Mill, it's perfectly justifiable to coerce him out of doing something that's harmful to himself. Mill is only concerned with unjustified coercion. There are many things he thinks society and the state are fully justified to do, and indeed, one of the passages on liberty is to try to draw a line between justifiable and unjustified. He comes up with this principle that coercion is only justified if an action is causing or directly draws to cause harm. And this is the punchline. So, of course, this opens up a philosophical kind of worm as to what harm means. So I'm just going to harm. Well, what should we talk about? Mill embraced the principle that right actions are that which tend to cause happiness or pleasure, and wrong actions are that which tend to cause pain. It would be wrong, however, to think